Once again, that's star one to ask a question. And our first question is from the line of Lindo Scraton with Springfield, New Orleans.
Yeah, good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
How are things going on the schedule, getting it finalized for the non-conference portion?
Been working relentlessly on that and still have about 3 games to get, so it's a challenge.
What are the challenges, that you face in that? Is it needing some home games to balance it out, or what are you really looking at there?
Well, you always want home games, and that's what we're striving for. In my first 2 years here, we've played a very, very challenging non-conference schedule, and we've been on the road a ton, and we're still going to be relatively young. We would like to get as many home games as possible.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Todd Hefferman with Southern Illinois.
Hey, Paul, you have some new guys, but a lot of guys coming back from last year. What have you really focused on during the couple hours you've had with them on the court?
Really what we've worked on, and it's been important, is trying to get in the weight room and just build our young bodies. Some of it is maturing, but getting in that weight room and getting bigger, stronger, and faster. And then, the same things that probably everyone's doing, just skill work, trying to get better, become a better basketball player in those 2 hours.
How has Jamar Gawley been able to work out with you, or what's his?
Yes, he's in workouts. He's doing light contact work. He will not start 5-on-5 until August, and that's just that's just playing it safe. But structurally, he's in a very good place. I mean, his knee is structurally sound. Now it's just a matter of him getting into that basketball shape.
Have you seen a lot, what he's looked like in the past this year, or do you think it's...
Oh, no, I have not seen that.
And any different role for Marcus Marshall this year in your mind?
Oh, I just think, he's got to continue to get better. The good thing about Marcus is he likes to play and he works on his game, and he takes it very serious. So he will not rest on any accomplishments that he's had from an individual standpoint. He'll continue to get better.
Thanks.
You bet.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Luke Meredith with the Associated Press.
Coach, how do you view, in general terms, the dynamic of the league shifting with Creighton leaving and Loyola coming in?
Well, I mean, you always hate to lose quality, and Creighton was certainly a quality program. But I think Loyola, they bring a lot to the table, and we are excited to have them. There'll be an adjustment, but we're excited to have Loyola. They've got a very fine tradition. Porter Moser does an excellent job, so we're excited to have them.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Telegraph.
Yeah, Paul, this is your third year with the program right now. What strides do you really think the program needs to take in this year? And is it more like from an inside perspective, do you guys really just need to get kind of maybe tougher on the inside?
Well, I mean, I think that comes with size, and we've obviously we were outmanned a lot of times last year on the interior. We feel like we've added some big bodies. The young bodies that we did have in the program have done a nice job of getting bigger and stronger. Tyler McCullough, the incoming freshman, we feel like he has tremendous size. He's ready from a physical standpoint. He's 6'10", 253 pounds. Our fifth-year transfer, Emmanuel Adu, is about 6'7", 230. So, we feel like we've made strides in those areas. Christian Kirk was basically our one interior guy last year, and I think now it will not all be on him because we do have some bigger bodies. Bruce Marshall continues to make strides. He's up to about 230 pounds. So the interior thing is important. And then just overall, I mean, we need to make improvements in all areas. And I think our guys are committed to doing that. I feel like we've got a roster right now with some options, and that's going to be important moving forward.
Thanks.
You bet.
Thank you. Again, that's star one for a question. Our next question is from the line of David Reynolds with the Peoria Journal.
Hey, Paul. You mentioned a few of your new guys. Can you give us a rundown of some of your others who you might be expecting something from this year?
Well, I mean, you know, we have shown that we will play young guys. We obviously played a lot of young guys last year. I do think it will become a little bit more competitive for minutes this year, and that's a positive. Competition is healthy, but our three incoming freshmen, Tyler McCullough is a big kid from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and we feel like there are a lot of positives with him and his game moving forward. He's a big body. He understands how to play. Devin Thomas is a point guard from out east, and that's the position that he plays. He thinks like a point guard. We're excited about him. And then Austin Reuter is a local product who can shoot the basketball, who's a winner, had a very successful high school career, and just understands how to play. And then we added a fifth-year transfer in Emmanuel Adu, who played at Northern Colorado. He's been through it. He understands college basketball, the ups and downs of it, and I think this will be a very good, a fresh start for him. And then we signed a junior college kid late, Ron Mavica. He is not here this summer. He's back in Paris, but he's a 6'5", kind of utility guy. He can do a lot of different things. He can handle and pass, and we think he'll help. So we're excited about all of those new guys. I think they all have a chance to come in and hopefully have an impact, and that's what they should be thinking. So we're looking forward to working with those guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Again, that's star one for a question. Our next question is from the line of Lendo Scranton with the Springfield News Leader.
Paul, does adding a team from a major media center like Chicago open any doors recruiting-wise to you?
It probably, you know, it helps our league from the standpoint that we're in another major media market, but we're going to continue to recruit who we feel and the type of kids that we feel can help our program. And if it's a kid in your backyard, great. If it's a kid 3 hours away, if it's a kid from the East Coast, if it's a kid from Chicago, and there's a connection and we have an opportunity to recruit that kid, we're going to do it. So we have recruited Chicago, and we'll continue to recruit those areas.
Thank you. Again, that's star one for a question.
Paul, looks like that was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See you. Bye-bye. Let's get next to Greg Lansing of Indiana State. Indiana State returns 4 starters from last year's postseason club. In fact, the Sycamores reaching the postseason for 4 straight years. Morning, Greg.
Morning. How you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Let's get right to the questions for Indiana State head coach Greg Lansing.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing star one on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star one for a question. Once again, that's star one for a question, and our first question is from the line of Luke Meredith with the Associated Press.
Good morning, Coach.
How you doing?
Good. Was wondering, the addition of Loyola, how much do you think that might affect or help Valley teams get more of a recruiting foothold in Chicago?
I don't know. I think Chicago is as highly recruited as any place. Matter of fact, kids get over-recruited sometime out of Chicago. When I first got the head coaching job, we had 2 one senior and 1 junior on our roster from Chicago. that helped us win a championship and get into the NCAA tournament. Obviously, a lot of good players up there, and being in the Chicago market, for one, I'm happy for Coach Mosier being back in the league. And you can't replace Creighton, but to get us back in Chicago, I think it's great for the league, and I think Doug and the whole Valley staff did a great job of going through all that. But as far as helping us, a great deal of maybe getting recruits out of there, I think every staff in the conference already does a real good job, and they have their different areas of strength. And but it might help Loyola. It might help Loyola keep some guys at home a little more that have left in the past to go to Valley schools.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Good morning, Greg.
Hey, Jim.
Could you talk about Mike Samuels? I understand he had another surgery, and what is his prognosis for this season?
Yeah, it's a tricky deal. Mike is the biggest guy in the league and hasn't been able to play a minute for us yet. He broke the navicular bone over a year ago in August on our Bahamas trip, and that is a bone does not readily heal on its own. We tried to let it do that. It did not do that, so there's a new procedure. We got the best doctors in the world up in Indianapolis, the Colts doctors that help us. They took a piece of bone out of his shin and put it in where the navicular bone would be to try and get it to heal that way. We've been told that the surgery went well, everything's great with that, but it's a newer procedure. The doctors are saying that hopefully in January he can possibly be able to return for us. We don't know. He hasn't played for a long time, and he's 285 pounds, so you kind of have to wait and see. But I would say January at the earliest we could see him in a uniform.
And about Manny A-Rop, he kind of had some ups and downs last year. What are your expectations for him this season? Is it obviously just a more consistent effort out of him?
Yeah, you know what, and I think it was a little bit like our whole team, and it's starting with Jake Odom. We had guys that were terrific at times, and we have a really hard-working group, and we just didn't quite have the numbers to maybe be able to rest them like we needed to. I think we really got worn down at times, and Manny is a really hard-working kid. I think some days he just went out there and just didn't really have it, but he's having a great off-season. He's probably going to make the Canadian junior national team and play in the World University Games, so we're really excited about him there. He's a good player and a hard worker, and I think from top to bottom, including the coaching staff here, that we have to be a little more consistent, and Manny's no different than anybody else in that.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Dave Reynolds with the Tutorial Journal-Star.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Dave.
Just wondering, the run by Wichita State to the Final Four, what impact have you seen on the rest of the league and maybe in your program, just in terms of, exposure, recruiting, any factors that you see that have come out of the Wichita State success?
Well, the kids have seen that. They know the Wichita's in the Missouri Valley, and they know that how good the league is. We certainly use it because we know the type of caliber of players that you have to get in this league. You have to get guys that may usually go to a BCS level like that. Otherwise, you don't have a chance to even be in the top half of this league. You've got to get some high major type guys on your team, and to have them make the run that they made is good for all of us, I believe. I'm happy for those guys. Obviously, we still want to compete with them and beat them, but we certainly use it as a coaching staff, and we use it as a motivation for ourselves and our players as well. We know that we got to get better, or otherwise we can't win a championship in this league. They've set the bar awfully high, and that's something all of us can strive to attain.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, to ask Coach a question, you may press *1 on your telephone keypad. Our next question is from the line of Paul Sullentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
Hey, Greg, you mentioned getting worn down a little bit last season. Could you address maybe how you went about trying to improve your depth for the coming season?
Yeah, it's a different one for us, Paul. We got the 2 hours a week with them in the summer, and then we had our Bahamas trip. Where we lost Mike, he got hurt. We had a couple kind of nagging injuries from that trip, and then again, this is a really hard-working group that whether they're in the weight room or conditioning or in practice, And we don't just have the numbers to keep. We're going to add a couple walk-ons this year, to rest an Odom and rest a Manny Arop in practice. It's hard to do when you're into the season, and you go to Honolulu over Christmas and never really got a break there, and it's given them excuses a little bit, but maybe I had to learn my lesson a little bit with our scheduling and things you're doing, but you just couldn't pass up opportunities like that. And I really think just with our conditioning and our strength and added strength and doing those things and adding a couple more bodies, that hopefully it'll provide us a little more depth. And we went short in practice towards the end of the year, I think, just kind of like everybody does. But it's a fine line of continuing to get better and trying to be able to rest the guys. So, it's a lot of little different areas that maybe I learned a lesson on and how we can do things a little different. But I can't fault the guys. They were terrific, even though we faded a little bit down the stretch there. They were a really hard-working group from start to finish.
And you bring back, really, I guess, largely the same group from last year. What kind of areas are you hoping to improve on?
Really everything, when we sat down after we got beat by Iowa in the NIT and sat down with them in the locker room, I said, hey, I got to get better, and each one of you guys in here has got better if we want to contend for something. The NIT invite was great, but that's not what we try to attain here. We're about competing for championships and doing that on a consistent basis. So we just really wanted everybody to look in the mirror, and each of us has to get better. We got to clean some things up and make competing for a championship a priority. So we're working hard at it. These guys do work hard, but it's a fine line on being able to win a championship and doing all the little things that we got to commit ourselves to. And I think we're getting there. We still got a long ways to go, and we got a heck of a summer ahead of us here, continuing with our strength and conditioning and the individual development that we're doing. But if each one of our guys improves, which I think they will, and me as a coach and our staff do a better job this year, then I like our team for sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Again, to ask Coach a question, you may press *1.
Greg, that's your final question. Thanks for your time this morning.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll see you. We'll be joined by Coach Dan Muller of Illinois State in just a moment. We're holding for him, and we'll have him on in just a second. And we are joined by Coach Dan Muller of Illinois State. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good. We've talked to Paul and Greg Lansing, and both of those guys have a lot of guys coming back. Your situation is a little different. You have a lot of new faces, but a good recruiting class. Talk a little bit about your team projections for this year, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
Yeah, we've got a lot of new guys, to be an understatement. Somewhat of a new team. Of course, we have a handful of returners, but not even a ton with a lot of experience. And at this point, we just started school this past Monday, and so we've only had a couple workouts, and we're doing as much this summer, just getting a feel for what our guys can do, let them show us what we can do with anything. So excited about our guys coming in, excited about the returners, but it's really early to know what we're going to get from who and who's going to contribute what at this point.
Thanks, Dan. Let's open it up for Coach Muller. Questions for Coach Muller from the media.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 for a question. Our first question is from the line of Todd Hefner with the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Coach Muller, can you get a sense of how different it would be without Jackie Carmichael and how you try to make up for those points and rebounds?
Yeah, hey, Todd. People ask, well, is he going to replace? Nobody's going to replace Jackie. Obviously, no one's going to come in and average 18 and 10. We do need some low post scoring, and we've got a returner who hasn't played yet, and John Jones, who can give us that. We do have some more length and athleticism, I think, with depth this year than we've had in the past. But I think we'll be a more balanced scoring team. Last year we had two guys average about 36 points together, and I don't think we'll have that this year. But it'll be by a group. It'll be a collective replacement of Jackie with his numbers. Not only that, but his leadership and production on all parts of the court. Hopefully we can replace his shot blocking. I mean, he's a really good rim protector, and got some guys that I think will be able to do that. Not in addition to the other things, but anytime you lose somebody like Jackie, especially when you have a bunch of new guys coming in who don't have the experience, it'll be a whole bunch of guys replacing those numbers.
I mean, it's hard to replace, just his 18 and 10, but when he's a good defensive player too, that when you have one guy that can do all three, it's hard to even find three guys that can replace that on the court, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, one in each category, so to speak.
No, it is, and so we can't expect that. Jackie was really good, not just with the shot blocking, rebounding, but he really moved his feet well. He's physical in the post, and we've got a handful of guys that need to put some weight on. Some of our new guys really need to put some weight on, but we'll play a little bit different style, so we won't be as dominant with a couple players offensively, but defensively we're just going to have to make up for them, and I do think we'll play more guys, less minutes, is my guess. But it's I don't know. We got so many guys, I'm not sure yet.
And what do you think his chances are in the NBA draft? Do you hear from a lot of teams that are asking questions about him?
Yeah, we've heard from a number of teams, and I've learned, just from the time at Vanderbilt that, his workouts are good. You don't know. I would be surprised if he was not drafted. I don't know if that will be late in the first round or somewhere in the second round, but I will be surprised if he's not drafted. And I think Jackie is an NBA player that will make a team, regardless if he's drafted or not, because of his ability. So I know it's an exciting week for him, and Tyler Brown's got a chance. Exciting week for those guys, and I can't wait for draft night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, to ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing *1 at this time. Again, that's *1 for a question. And we do have a question from the line of Dave Reynolds with the Tutorial Journal-Star.
Hey, Dan. Hey, you mentioned your style being a little different. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? How will you guys play differently this year?
Well, I don't know exactly what we do yet, Dave. I just know that we won't be as dominant with our two main scorers as last year. I mean, I'd be surprised if we had a couple guys that average 17 and 18 points. So therefore, the way that we execute our offense has got to be a little different. I do know we'll try to play fast. Exactly what we'll do offensively, I'm waiting to really construct that based on our personnel and figure out who's going to play. But we've got some options to go big. We got some options to go small. But last year it was a lot of get Jackie and Tyler the ball, and this year, it won't be that.
I know, as you mentioned, it's still early. Is there anybody of the new guys who's caught your eye in the early workouts?
Unfortunately, there hasn't, because we just started this past week, and we started a little bit later than most as far as our summer workouts. So we've only had 2, 1-hour workouts with individuals, and just haven't had enough time to even catch my eye yet. And guys will look in the airport, I know that much. So they catch your eye there, but I don't know. I really don't know yet, Dave. I think another month I'll have a good feel. We have a few guys still coming in the next couple of weeks, so our whole team's not even here yet.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Telegraph.
Hey, Dan, could you just talk a little bit about Brian Allen? He's coming off the ankle surgery, and what's the plan for him this summer, and when do you expect that he could maybe really go 100%?
Yeah, Brian, he's about a month and a half into his ankle surgery, and he's moving pretty well. They told us about mid-July. I say month and a half, about a month. Mid-July is when we can kind of expect him to be almost 100%. We'll obviously take it, we'll be cautious because of the timing, but he just got such a bad ankle with the break he had in Minnesota that we're hoping that this clears up enough of that just bad stuff he had in there that would allow him to move better consistently.
And with Kaysen,
so far he's doing well.
Great. With Kate and Mikhail playing for the Canadian under-19 team, what is an experience like that? What do you hope for them to gain for that maybe could help their development even this coming season?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, honestly, how much they play. First of all, it's a great experience, and I'm really proud of them, glad they made the team no matter what. But for me only, if they go over there and don't play a lot, I don't know how much, as far as being transitioning to Illinois State, it helps. If they play against good competition, gain some confidence, that certainly can help them. But confidence, pride in their country, just the experience in general, maybe understanding, how difficult things are. Of course, how hard you have to work is always a good thing. But regardless of all that, obviously we're rooting for them, and I'm really happy for them to make the team. They have the first game in 2 days, I believe, on 26th.
Right. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, that looks like it was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Dan. We do have Coach Gino Ford of Bradley with us. Morning, Gino.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Well, let's talk a little bit about your returning players. Of course, you got Walt and Tyshawn coming back, and talk a little bit about your projections for this coming season, and we'll open up for some questions.
Well, we don't have a lot in terms of quantity back, but we feel like our quality is pretty good. We're excited about Walt Lemon and the progress he's made. I think he could be, one of the top perimeter guys in the league. He continues to work at it and stays healthy. Tyshawn Pickett, really came on for us and was on the all-newcomer team last year, and we thought gave us a real, infusion of toughness and ability to score in the paint. And then Jordan Prosser has, played a ton of minutes during his career for us, and, is going to be back as a senior. So those are, really our mainstay veteran guys. And then we only have two others that played in games last year. Nate Wells, who continues to get better and develop. He's only a sophomore, but he's working hard. And then Kadero Bell's coming off shoulder surgery that he had after the season. And it doesn't look like he's going to be cleared. It was a pretty major surgery. It doesn't look like he's going to be cleared to start contact stuff until September or October. And that's it. And then we've pretty much just got new guys beyond that. But we like our group, and think we have a chance if things could fall our way a little bit.
Thanks, Gino. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions from the media for Coach Gino Ford.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 for a question. Again, that's star 1 to ask a question. Our first question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Telegraph.
Morning, Gino.
Good morning.
Could you talk about some of the newcomers and maybe who you expect some of the top guys to be out of that group, and just kind of what kind of players they are and all that?
Well, we've got a lot of newcomers. We've got 8 of them. So, I think one of them, Mike Shaw, has to sit out. So I guess that puts us down to 7, in terms of playing this season. 2 of them, Anthony Fields and Omari Greer, were with us last year in a redshirt role after transferring in. Anthony's, pretty much a true point guard, gets the ball to other guys and has good speed and helps us in transition. Omari Greer is a really good shooter, a 3-point threat, that something we haven't done well the last 2 seasons. We've been near the bottom or at the bottom in 3-point shooting, and Omari should help our deficiency in that category for sure. We have 3 freshmen, Jordan Swapshire, who we're really excited about, from St. Louis. Seems like he's going to be able to compete pretty early on for playing time. And then Xavier Taylor, who played at Morgan Park in Chicago, won a state championship, and really came on for that team at the end of the season. he's been doing well in the early workouts. Our third freshman, Stefan Zevsik, has been with the Serbian under-20 team this summer and has not made it to campus yet. We're expecting him to arrive in the next couple weeks. And, so it's impossible to say where he is, but we're hopeful that he can give us some, depth on the wing and can battle for playing time, because when we've only got 3 guys back that played a lot of minutes, there's obviously a lot of opportunities out there. And we have 2 transfers from junior college places, both 4.24 guys. Chris Blake was at Air Force Academy as a freshman. Is a active inside guy, about 6'6", 6'7", but really bouncy, got really good hands, good finisher, shot blocker, runs the floor. We think he'll really help us with, giving us another active interior guy who can, run the floor. And we were with Walt and Anthony. We imagine we'll be playing a little faster this year than what we did in the past. And then Austin Barnes, who comes to us from Odessa College, was at Central Michigan before that, has played well. He's a big guy. He's about 6'7". He can really shoot it, and he's got some athleticism to him. So, we've got a lot of new guys, and to be fair, at this point, 2 weeks in, they've kind of all had a moment or two that have stood out to be really impressive. And like all new guys, they've had, moments where maybe they've not been quite as sharp. And over the stretch of the summer and fall, I'm sure it'll shake itself out a little more. But I wouldn't even be able to guess a starting lineup at this point or a rotation. I mean, I think we're, probably 9 and maybe even 10 deep, which is great. But I'm not sure who would start and who wouldn't at this stage.
With Creighton leaving the league, does every other team, I guess besides Wichita, have to kind of so-called pull the rope a little bit more to keep the league, obviously among the top 9 or 10 leagues in the country?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all need to continue to be good. I think that, if Creighton was certainly, at the top the last few years, and I'm sure they would have continued to be very good, but they had a lot of guys back this year, but then they were going to be senior heavy for this coming season, so who knows if they would have been able to stay. And their league's just been such a cycle league, with everybody having a stretch to be the NCAA team, or teams, I should say, and be championship caliber teams. And it's rotated through our league, and Wichita has done a great job right now kind of separating themselves, but it's not that long ago that several of the other schools were in Sweet 16s and winning championships. So, I'm sure everybody will continue to battle to try to be the next team to make a significant contribution. That's for sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Lindell Scranton with the Springfield News Leader.
Coach, does adding the Chicago market help you any in recruiting that area, or help any of the teams in the Valley recruit Chicago better?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think that's yet to be seen. I think, we all recruit Chicago. I'm sure it'll help Loyola because that's right where they're at. And it's not going to hurt the league because, the visibility and the coverage will probably be significantly improved. But we're always all in there. I think so much of that comes down to getting the right guys, instead of one specific spot them coming from. You got to get the right ones. And I think that Chicago, we all know how great the basketball there is, and we all recruit there. To be honest, we trip over each other up there a lot. But if it helps us, that's going to be great. But I think all the programs pretty much recruit national. And for us and Loyola and Illinois State, we're all going to try to do well in our backyard, and we all would consider Chicago to be a big, big piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you again. That's star one for your question. Our next question is from the line of Paul Sullentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
So do you see Field as a guy who will come in and help Walt by getting Walt off the ball a little bit more?
Well, Paul, I think that's definitely possible. The thing with Walt is, as we all know, Walt didn't play point until his sophomore year of college, and then he played the point for 2 years for us here. And during that time, in spite of occasional struggles or occasional criticism, he still developed himself into an all-conference player. So, we're really happy with Walt. We think Walt's been great for us, and I think that Walt can be helped by getting freed up to maybe not have to run the team and can focus on making plays exclusively. But Walt's a guy who makes, he needs the ball in his hands. So, we're kind of looking at it as going a 2-guard or, a 2-point guard look when those guys are in together instead of having, looking at Walt as a traditional 2, because Walt's a scorer. He's not a 2-guard in the mold of like a Colt Ryan who's just going to relentlessly move without the ball and read screens and bury jumpers. That's not his game. He needs the ball in his hands. So, and he's a ball screen guy and a slasher attack guy who's very, very capable of making shots and has worked hard on his pull-up game. So we're tinkering with things. It's early and we've only had a few weeks. And, even though Anthony was here last year, Anthony was on the scout team, and we really didn't do anything with Anthony and Walt playing together until we got into the postseason, and that's why that experience, I think, was positive for us because those guys finally got to play together, and they started to develop a little feel for each other and some chemistry. So hopefully that's something they can build off of and continue to get better. And we'll see where Kadero Bell is when he gets back healthy because, he was really playing his best basketball when he got hurt and really came on the last 10 games. And it's kind of another guy who's somewhat of a combo guard, who's maybe not a true quote-unquote point, but can handle the ball and can also score it. So, I think that thing will shake itself out, but I do like that group.
And then I guess when I look at Bradley, it looks like you've moved him from the bottom of the league to last year where you were very competitive and in the middle of the league. Is this then a difficult jump that you want to make in this next season about really being a contender?
Well, you always are hopeful of that. I think that we all would probably agree that Wichita is got a big head start on everybody at this point. I mean, they got to have a lot of confidence, and they have a lot of guys back from what an unbelievable run they had, and they're going to be playing good basketball. Do we need to make the jump into that next tier? Yes, we do. We're hopeful that we're able to do that. But it's just not easy in our league, as we've all seen. It was very, very difficult for us to go from dead last 2 straight years to making a jump up to kind of finding the bottom end of the middle pack, and now we've got to make another jump into to become even more relevant. But I certainly like our team. We've got some size, we've got some ability to shoot, we have some athleticism. I think that it's a group that if it can play together and stay healthy, we could end up being pretty good. Are we going to be great? That's always to be seen. That's difficult, and the league's going to have a lot of good teams in it this year. So we're just hopeful that we end up being one of them. That it all shakes out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gino, that was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
No problem. Take care. Thanks.
All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye. Next to Loyola's Porter Moser joins us on the line. Good morning, Porter.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Let's get right to the questions from the media for Coach Moser.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 for a question. Our first question is from the line of Lyndall Scranton with the Springfield News Leader.
Yeah, good morning, Coach.
Morning.
It's only been a short time since the announcement was made, but have you noticed any doors opened in recruiting that the name recognition of being in the Valley has provided?
I think it's really resonating with the 2014 and 2015 classes, the younger classes. When the announcement was made for this current recruiting class, it'll be freshmen this fall. It was pretty watered down. A lot of guys, but we've really found it the younger classes, the 2014, the seniors to be, the juniors to be. We were able to just start calling them in June 15th, and it just, obviously, the area we're in, the Valley has such a strong name, and it's been very, very positive reception.
Being in a pro sports market, I don't know what kind of media coverage. You probably have to fight for a lot of print or broadcast airtime. But do you think that'll increase now that you're in the Valley, or are you hopeful that it will?
Absolutely. I think the media people here have been great. The WGN, the two newspapers, the Tribune and Sun-Times, and even the Daily Herald from suburbs, they've all been great. And I just think it's now going to even be on a bigger stage. The TV package of what the Valley, I was very excited at our Missouri Valley Conference meetings to talk about all the TV coverage. Almost every game that you're going to be playing will be on some type of TV. And that's just exposure. That's, such a different level. And, we're excited to be a part of that. And we're excited that to sell that to future recruiting, and the media coverage is a big part of it.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Coach, does Christian Thomas have a different role for your team this year?
I'd like Christian to take a more leadership role. He leads by example, and some guys are more comfortable doing that. The true leaders, the really, really good ones, can lead by example and lead by what they say. And Christian is just goes about his business very, unbelievably driven, and had a huge role for us. And I'd like him to bring some other guys along, and be more of a leader. We have no seniors, and we have 2 juniors, and we have 1 post player. And Christian's one of the 2 juniors, and the other one's Joe Christmas. So he's the only post player that is an upperclassman. So all the other post players are freshmen and sophomore, and he's got to bring some of them along. And that's what I think Loyola's been missing, is that type of culture. They've had tremendous tradition here, winning a national championship, and they did go to a Sweet 16 in 85, 86. What the culture we need is the whole team, the best players, bringing everybody else along. 1 or 2 guys can't get it done. And you got to have a team. You've seen that in the Valley with Wichita, all the different guys that stepped up. You had a number of guys step up. You see it at the pro level, in the championship series. How many different guys stepped up. And you do that when your best players can bring other guys along. And that's what we have to, that's the type of culture we have to develop with those older guys, 2 juniors, bringing the younger guys along.
And have you tried to, foster that with the limited hours you've had with them on the court?
Absolutely. I'm giving him more leadership roles in terms of him, when I can't organize him, whether it's pickup and everything, that he's the one getting the guys together, that he's the one doing that. I'm trying to put some leadership in his hand to foster that role. And he's as high character kid as you can have. And that's, it was a kid I signed, and when I got the job, and everyone said in high school he's an undersized kid, and we said it. Coach Majerus and I, we were going to get him to walk on at St. Louis, and the one thing we said is he's competes every play. Who cares about size? He's a great student. The whole package, and he was by far the most improved player in the Horizon last year because of his character.
And has there been a newcomer that's really, really kind of impressed you early on, or really that you're going to have to lean on this year?
Well, our newcomers come this Sunday. Our second session summer school is Sunday, so they'll be here Sunday, so we haven't had a chance to work with the new guys coming in. In terms of the freshmen and the guys that I redshirted, Matt O'Leary's put on 20 pounds. He came in, and I remember he has 3 older brothers. I remember his parents telling me that every one of them, her old sons, grew an inch in college, and Matt did. Matt was 6'7", and now he's about 6'8" ¼ but more importantly, he's about 224. And he's really impressed me with his drive to improve his body. Devin Turk has too. Devin Turk has added about 12 pounds, and he needed it because he was so light. And so those two have really impressed me with their strength gains.
Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Telegraph.
Hey, Porter, how you doing?
Great, Jim. How are you?
Good. Welcome back to the Valley.
Thanks, Jim.
I was wondering, in your time at St. Louis when you were with Coach Majerus, and even your last 2 years at Loyola, did you kind of always keep an eye on the Valley and kind of just see what it was doing and all that?
Oh, without hesitation. I mean, there's no question, especially the first couple of years because I was watching guys that I recruited, and it was, I had close relationships with them and their families. But I'm a Valley guy. I mean, Doug Elgin has been a long-time friend. He was, the commissioner down when I played, and sorry to age Doug, but, playing in the Valley and coaching in the Valley, I just think it's an awesome league. I mean, every road game you go to, the traditions, the student sections, the coaches, and so without question. And I've been in this area. St. Louis is still, Chicago. They cover the Valley so much. So without question, I've had an eye on the Valley ever since.
And could you talk a little bit about Milton Doyle? Obviously, he was a high recruit coming out of high school who went to Kansas, and then he came to your place last year and had to sit out. What are your expectations for him?
Milton's one of those guys that he's got a lot of expectations around here, and I just want him just to worry about Milton in terms of playing as hard as he can all the time. He's tremendously talented, and he had to get stronger. He came in, he's very skinny, but he's got a high ceiling. He's probably our best athlete. He's 6'4", he's long arms, and he's got a tremendous feel for the game. But Milton's one of those guys you just want to, not have so many voices in his ear and just really make a concentrated effort on doing what we needed him to do. And he's done that. The best thing that happened to him, there was a little talk that he might be able to play right away because he only went to summer school at Kansas, and thankfully that the waiver didn't get approved and he had to sit a year, and that was one of the best things that ever happened to him. He got to sit back, take a look at things and how things work and how game planning and all the things that go into college basketball that sometimes high school kids don't know, all of that's involved with this level. And he was able to be full-time with our strength coach, so he matured a lot this last year, and he's an excellent kid, and we do have a lot of expectations for him, but I don't want to put too many things on him. I want him to do the basics.
Great, Porter. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Luke Meredith with the Associated Press.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I see that you had one of the younger rosters in the entire country last season. How ready do you think you might be to compete in the Valley right away next year?
It's just a hard question to answer. I think what we are doing to prepare our guys to let them know how good it is, the coaching, the atmospheres, the level of players. And what I've always said about the Valley, and everybody's asked me this question a long time, there's great teams in the Valley. And I've always said that. There's really good teams. And there's some teams in other leagues that can be really talented. I think the Valley is talented and has great teams. So it's hard to tell how we're going to be prepared. We are, with no seniors and 2 juniors. Obviously, we're going to be very young again, but, that's part of the challenge. That's part of the opportunity. And, I think they're ready for the challenge. They're excited about it. But, it's just going to have to be one of those things we're going to have to go through it. It's hard to predict at this point.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Paul Sullentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
Yeah, Porter, I'm wondering about the style of play comparison between the Horizon and the Valley. Do you see this being much different, and how do you go about preparing for maybe that difference?
Well, there's some different coaches from when I was here last, so I think I'll be better prepared to answer that question after going through it a year. I think the Horizon's an excellent league, and I'm excited to go into the Valley. I know what kind of league the Valley is, and but in terms of style of play, like I said, I really think there's some great teams in this league, and coaches know what that means. When I say a team, that means all kids on the same page, playing together, fundamental, and have a system. And there's a lot of that in the Valley. Every team has a system, and that's why it's had so much success, and it's continued to do that. It's very hard to win on the road in the Valley, and that's different than a lot of leagues in the Valley. That the road is so hard. Every place you go to, there's challenging. It's tough to win, and I think that's one of the bigger surprises that's going to happen for us.
When you change conferences, do you spend the summer compiling, scouting libraries on all these 9 new teams that you're not quite so familiar with? How do you kind of get ready to ease this transition for your team?
Well, that's exactly part of it. We were up until I've had to open up my coaching search. I lost 2 assistants this week, but it's been something where I have been watching a lot of tape and watching systems, and obviously there's going to be a lot of newcomers. The Valley does an awesome job of recruiting, and I heard Gino say we trip over each other, and it's this league works unbelievably hard at this level because you're trying to unturn guys, you're trying to get guys that BCS conferences are getting. So there's a level of newcomers that we don't, that you're going to have to wait and see. But, absolutely. And try to give our confidence to the guys that I've been in the Valley but you're going to have to spend a lot of time preparing in this league. It's a league that coaches really prepare. And, those are all part of it. And we're trying to work on that. I'm not getting into any kind of scouting with our guys right now. We're really focusing on us. And we'll have plenty of time to get into the scouting with them. It's just more of an internal thing with our coaching staff.
Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Dave Reynolds with the Purpurial Journal-Star.
Hey, Porter.
Hey, Dave.
Could you speak to the development of Jeff White so far?
I tell you, he's one of my favorite kids I've coached. He has just worked really hard at his shot, his body, and Cully Payne went down with an injury last year, and Kiki ended up starting like the last 8 or 9 games, and he just, it was one of the best things for him. And, we did it. We had a number of injuries last year, and we had a number of freshmen that got a lot of minutes, and going through it was tough, but in the long run, it's going to be beneficial if those young guys got a lot of minutes. And, he's just, his confidence level's growing, his shot's improving, he's learning to make better decisions. He's becoming more of a true point guard. Before you could have said, hey, he might be able to play, 1-2 because he's trying to score a lot. He's becoming a true point guard because he's worked on decision making, worked on keeping his dribble alive after ball screens instead of, or looking to make plays off a ball screen instead of just scoring. And he's becoming a true point guard. But his character, he's one of the most liked guys on our campus, not just our team, on our campus. And I love that. And his personality just resonates with everybody, and we need that. And he need to be more vocal, too. He's very bright, and I tell him all the time. I just told him in front of our camp this morning, we're working on him. He has bright things to say. He's got to say them. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges we're working on him this offseason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it. Let's sit next to Coach Marty Simmons of Evansville. Good morning, Marty.
Hey.
Thanks for your patience this morning.
Oh, no problem.
Great. Let's get right to the questions for Coach Simmons.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 to ask Coach a question. Once again, that's *1 for a question. We do have a question from the line of Dave Reynolds with the Purpurial Star-Journal.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Dave.
Just wondered if you could just go through who you've got coming back, just in terms of and some of your newcomers, what you've seen so far in the early workouts, what kind of a team post Colt Ryan you expecting to have this year?
Good question. No, we're excited about our core guys, nucleus. We feel like they got a good bit of experience last year, playing with some seniors that had obviously done a lot for our program. But Agidius Moxcavicius, big guy that did a terrific job inside for us, just continues to grow and develop. He's really never had an off season where he could work on strength and conditioning and just skill work and great attitude, fun-loving guy. We think he's got a chance to be a special player. DJ Ballantyne's a guy that has had a great freshman year for us and can really score the basketball in a lot of ways, and someone that we feel will step up into an even bigger role for our team this year. Ryan Sawville is a guy that has worked extremely hard here in the off season. Really played some very good basketball last season. Had a great freshman year, but I think is really committed to getting better with his skill work, getting stronger, and I think that's somebody you'll see play a very big role. Adam Wing is a guy that really stepped in and started for us late. Just brings tons of toughness. Just kind of a glue guy for us, and that guys like playing with him because he does a little bit of everything. And then our new guys, I think all bring something a little bit different. We got a redshirt freshman and David Howard, 6'9", 240, and he used last year to really gain some strength, gain some experience. Very skilled interior player with great touch. Boo Gibson from Cleveland was a Cleveland area player of the year, and just terrific talent. I mean, really great kid, works extremely hard, wants to be good, has ability to push the ball in transition. He can guard, very unselfish, great court vision. Jaylen Brown, another young man from the Indianapolis area, Fishers, is probably as athletic as any player we've had in the program. Great quickness, speed, jumping ability, loves basketball. Just a fun guy to be around. My son Blake is doing a good job. He can do a lot of different things. He shoots it, drives it, very good passer. Is got a good knowledge of the game. And Christian Benzon is a kid from Denmark that is actually over there with their under 20 national team playing now. Another athletic swing player that can slash and drive the basketball. And Tyler Tosick is a guy from the Cleveland area that can really stroke it and shoot the three. So a lot of new faces, but they're working extremely hard. Very, very pleased with where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, to ask Coach a question, you may press *1. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Good morning, Marty.
Morning, Jim.
Everybody obviously is focusing on that you lost Cole Ryan, but you also lost a couple other good players, and you lost your point guard. Who's going to maybe step into that role at the point this year?
That's interesting. We'll kind of see. I mean, we recruited a couple guys that can play the point, and Jaylen Brown and Boo Gibson. I think they'll both play it. Valentine also has the ability to play that position as well. I mean, we feel pretty confident that we'll be young there, inexperienced, but definitely have some athleticism and speed and quickness, and we feel these guys are ready for the challenge.
As you look at the Valley, obviously Wichita with the great run they had, and they got a lot of guys coming back from that. Where do you see the rest of the Valley kind of shaking out?
That's a good question. I mean, the respect that I have for all the coaches and programs, I mean, I'd say it'll be a knockdown drag out just like it is every year. I think obviously Indiana State, with the returning players they got, and Gino. I mean, everybody. They're all well coached. They all have talented players. The thing that I'm not very good at, I'm not sure where my incoming guys are at this point. So it'd be hard for me to evaluate the incoming players for the programs in the league. I think it's just kind of a wait and see, but I think it's exciting. I just think you got a bunch of coaches that do a really good job, and you got a bunch of programs that are committed to winning.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, that's *1 for a question.
Marty, looks like that was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's get next to Coach Ray Giacoletti of Drake. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Midwest, and welcome to the Missouri Valley.
We're excited to be there.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. I'll open up the questions for Coach Giacoletti, questions from the media.
Thank you. If you'd like to ask Coach a question at this time, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 for a question. First question is from the line of Mark Emmert with the Des Moines Register.
Morning, Ray.
Morning. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Hey, I'm just wondering what the status of your non-conference schedule is. I guess what's your vision there for this year and beyond?
Well, we're getting close to being done. We kind of just tried to pick the pieces when we got here and did our best to kind of fill it in. I don't have it sitting right in front of me. I know we're playing in the MIT or in Fresno. I know we owe a game to St. Mary's out there. But we're doing our best. I think we still have a couple left to finish it up, but we're doing our best to kind of fill it in as best we could when we got here. But those are the ones that, right off the top of my head, I know that we've taken care of since we've been here.
Will there be any interest in your part on maintaining that rivalry with Creighton in the non-conference going forward?
Yeah, at some point, no doubt about it. I think obviously it's a great game for both institutions, and that would be something we'd definitely be interested in.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Todd Kim with Radio Iowa.
Yeah, Ray, the summer contact practice rules are still relatively new. How does that benefit a coach like yourself that's coming in and taking over a program?
It's been a great asset, for one, to be able to work with our guys, to try to implement fundamentals that to bring our guys up to speed. We're not only a new staff, new players, so it's a win-win for everybody. Hopefully we can really close the gap a little bit with the learning curve with the use of our summer practices. We're practice number 5 right now, I think, for tomorrow. What we've been doing is just going 2 one-hour practices and trying to implement very basics defensively, rebounding, and offensively what we want to try to do. So it's been a great asset.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Todd Heffernan with the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Coach, what are you going to stress offensively with this group?
Well, I'm not really sure offensively. More so, I think offense changes a little bit to your personnel. Defense and rebounding is something that's pretty consistent, whatever group you're dealing with. So we're trying to feel our way through the offensive part of it right now and trying to get a feel of what exactly we have. We want to try to do as good a job as we can getting stops and then get our first line of offense getting out and running and trying to get some easy baskets. It's so hard today to manufacture baskets in the half court offense that we got to find a way to get some easy ones. So we're going to run off this field goals, or if we are able to create a turnover, and try to be aggressive that way. In a half court set, again, we're trying to get a feel of our strengths and weaknesses, and we'll have a little bit better feel of that, I think, maybe at the end of the summer.
How much have you tried to catch up on what the other teams are doing or have done? Have you watched a lot of video, or have you kind of really been focused on your guys at this point?
I have not watched any video. I told our guys that we were going to start from ground zero. I wasn't going to have any preconceived notions with anything. As far as how they were on campus, anything like that, they all were going to start fresh, and it was, you don't usually get those opportunities very often. So, and I haven't watched anything on anybody else. I mean, we've been so busy with, one, trying to take care of the team that we have right now, 2, hire a staff, 3, add a couple pieces for this coming year, and then try to get on this 2014 class because we're going to have 5 scholarships. So it's been nonstop. And then you throw in, trying to raise the final bit of money for the new practice facility. It's been some long days, but good ones.
How much is it going to look like what Gonzaga usually runs, or do you have a lot of big differences with Coach Few?
No, I think offensively, it was a great learning experience for me for the last 6 years there, and some different ideas on how to do things and how to be successful at things. So yeah, we'll definitely take some for what we learned and what was successful. A little bit different when you don't have Kevin Pangos handling the basketball, or Elias Harris or Kelly Olynyk finishing. But hopefully, a couple of years from now, we'll try to work ourselves to that type of player. But yeah, there was a lot of things I think we're going to take from the last 6 years at Gonzaga.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagram.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about some of the newcomers that you have coming into the program, and maybe some of the guys who might be taking on lead roles for you guys this year, Ray?
Yeah, I tell you, it's so difficult late to not make mistakes, and that was really our focus. Is let's be 100% sure. If not, let's just save it for 2014. So we have 3 guys that we were able to get that can help us, I think, immediately. And the better of the 3 is a guy from Marshalltown Community College right here in Iowa, Chris Carrad. Guy that averaged 20 points a game for them. He's from England originally. Can really shoot the basketball. 6'6", real strong young man. I think he's going to be able to post some people up at times too. Then we got a second junior college player in Trevor Berkeley from Tyler Community College, a taller, longer, athletic guy that gives us, again, something that we didn't have, fulfilled a need as far as some athleticism and some length. And then we were able to get a high school player that had a unique situation, Blake Danielak, who had committed to Texas Tech, and then with the coaching change was, kind of a free agent. And so 2 of them are junior college players, one's a freshman, and like I said, we're going to save, we'll have 5 then for the 14 class. I think there's some guys within the program right now, 2 seniors, Seth Van Dies and Richard Carter, who have really done a really good job with leadership and probably have progressed from their year this past year as far as the numbers that they put up, and we're hoping to be able to help them even get better. With Seth's case, it's all about trying to be injury free and to be in as good a shape as you possibly can. Some other guys, Carl Madison and Gary Ricks, are 2 other guys that have experience. Carl kind of in the same boat as Seth with coming off an injured knee and trying to get him as healthy as we possibly can. Young man we're going to have available this semester, Jordan Daniels, who's a quick little athletic guy that can really score the basketball. Another guy that's returning that I forgot to mention, Aaron Holly was in the program for 3 previous years before this past one. Is finishing up graduating. Had a chance to work out with us this spring, and so he has a year of eligibility left. And he's a guy that sometimes when you have something taken away from you, hopefully you have a chip on your shoulder, and hopefully you have a kind of a prove people wrong mentality. And so he's returning for his 5th year of eligibility, and also working on his master's. So, we've got 12 guys. I think that we're going to be the best we can be, and we're going to again try to have an identity with our defense and rebounding, and the guys have been unbelievable to with their work ethic and focus, and try to grow throughout the summer here, lead into the fall.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Paul Suttertrop with the Wichita Eagle.
I wasn't aware of the practice facility. Could you go through a few details about how it will look, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's going to be actually attached to the back, and I guess it would be the north end of the Knapp Center. It's something that's badly needed, and I think will elevate men's and women's basketball here greatly. Basically, it'll be 2 practice gyms, one for the men, one for the women, and then in the middle, a set of locker rooms and a film room. It's a $7 million project. We're at like $4.2 million with the money raised. It'll get started in August or September. It'll take 9 months to build. but it's really something that I think will help us drastically. An opportunity for our guys to be able to get in, just like the women, 24/7 access to work on their game. And in today's world of college basketball, it's extremely important.
Coming from Gonzaga, which I guess are kind of similar schools, Drake and Gonzaga, what kind of lessons do you learn about how you build a good program at those kind of schools?
I think there are a lot of similarities between the two. Obviously, the one that's lacking is a basketball tradition. But I think, Gonzaga has a pretty good blueprint of how they were able to separate themselves, and then the ability to sustain something for, this past year was 15 straight years, the NCAA tournament. So I think, I saw Gonzaga kind of from the outside for the first 7 years, being the head coach at Eastern Washington, which is right outside of Spokane, and then being gone for 3 years at Utah, and then coming back and being a part of it for 6. So I saw it for 13 years of that run. And, it's one thing to kind of see it from the outside, another thing to be a part of it. It just always amazed me that they were always able to seem to kind of break through another barrier through that 15-year run. Now that, the last barrier obviously is to try to get to a Final Four, but that whole school was bought in, on how it was going to help everybody, how basketball was going to help, the engineering program. And I think there's a lot of similarities that hopefully we can, take from that experience to here at Drake, of not only what a brand of Drake basketball could be somewhere down the road, but it helps the entire campus. And I think the president and our athletic director really see the value in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, that was it. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We have Coach Ben Jacobson of Northern Iowa on the line. Good morning, Jake.
Hey, good morning, Mike.
Thanks for hanging with us. We're obviously behind schedule, but appreciate your patience this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's get right to the questions for Coach Jacobson. Questions from the media.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 for a question. Our first question is from the line of Mark Emmert with the Des Moines Register.
Good morning, Ben.
Morning, Mark.
Hey, I was just wondering where you're at now on your non-conference schedule.
We've got one game to get still. The way this one ended up working out, coming out of a year when the Iowa and Iowa State dropped to one game, then of course for everybody in the league, the Mountain West Challenge going away and Bracket Busters going away. We're kind of, in some ways, starting over due to those three things. So we've ended up with 4 true road games, the neutral site game with Iowa State. Our multi-team event is the Paradise Jam this year, and it's got a very good field there. And then we've got a couple home games, of course. We've got VCU and Iona, and we're looking to get one more home game.
And then, would you have any interest in trying to restore that rivalry with Creighton?
Yes, we would. Hopeful that at some point here in the near future that we'll be able to get something started there.
Okay. What would be the barrier to that?
I'm not sure. Our initial talks, it was pretty late in the game to redo some non-conference stuff to try to get something going this year or maybe even next year. But my hope is that sometime soon here we'll be able to get something started.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Again, that's *1 for a question. Our next question is from the line of Luke Meredith with the Associated Press.
Morning, Jake.
Morning, Luke.
Hey, I want to ask you, how do you view the dynamic of the league changing when you lose sort of a bell cow like Creighton, but you add a school that maybe hasn't been as prominent, basketball-wise as Loyola, but is in a market that the league just hasn't been in?
I think Loyola is well positioned to do very, very well in our league, and I think one of the reasons is that Porter has experience in this league, He's got experience in general. Is a very good, very, very good coach, and just a really good person. So I think that they have an opportunity, based on that alone, to come into the league and do very well. I also think that they've got the resources necessary to put behind them to move that program forward in whichever areas that Porter would feel like they need to move forward in. So I think we've done very well as a league by adding Loyola Chicago, and obviously not having Creighton is something that collectively we're going to have to do a great job of covering up. For Creighton not being in our league anymore, and that's I think we are. From a league standpoint, I think we are in a very strong position. When you look around the league at the head coaches, the quality of the players, the support from the administration that's happening across the board in our league right now, I think we're in very good position to be able to cover up for Creighton not being in our league.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Carson Tiggs with the Waterloo Courier.
Hey, Jake. How you doing?
Good, Carson.
All right. You got 6 newcomers at least, I think, in practice started. You went through that a little bit 2 years ago with all the freshmen. Just got a few quick comments on how they're coming along and how that's going.
We do. We've got the 5 incoming freshmen. Paul Jesperson in as a transfer, and those guys are off to a good start. It's a group that I really, really like. Great work ethic. Guys that I think certainly a couple of them are going to be counted on to play this year and be significant part of our group this year. But our workouts have been good. To this point, we spent our 2 hours in small groups, 3 40-minute workouts a week, and working almost exclusively on skill work, broken down by position. But I really like what the guys are doing. When you add to the group that I mentioned with the 5 freshmen and then Jesperson, Wes Washman sat out last year, and Wes is a very important part of what we will be doing as a program going forward. He's a guy that is the most athletic, the fastest guy with the basketball that we've had in our program. He's a highly competitive guy. Brings kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I think that not only will that be good for us once we get started with practice, it's been very good for our group. The guys have mentioned it. Pickup games have been highly competitive, and I think Wes has a lot to do with that. And so I really like the group. Carson, I think we've got a lot to work with in that young group.
All right, throw Wes in there, and you mentioned that these guys are going to be counted on to play, obviously. But as you map it out, kind of who's kind of the front runners to get in that 15-20 minute a game range?
I guess I don't know in terms of minutes and what roles yet. I think we're too soon for that. We'll get into some team practices in July. We'll switch gears from small group workouts to some 1 hour team workouts when we get to July, and so we'll learn a little bit more about that. But I don't know that we'll know where guys are going to fit exactly until we get into practices and get into the heart of things once the season gets started. I do know that Jeremy Morgan is a guy that has got some size and some length on the wing, and he's had great workouts. Very, very talented young guy, and he wants to be a great player. Ted Freeman gives us some size. Ted's almost 6'9". He's 250 pounds and really moves well. Defensively, he's further along than most guys would be at just entering into their freshman year. And Robbie Kennard's a little combo guard that can really shoot the basketball. Gives us another guy that can stretch the floor. Bennett Cook, the youngest of the Cook brothers, is close to 6'10". He might be right at 6'10", but he's really long. Bennett of the group is probably the one that we would look at redshirting. His body could really use a year to develop. He could use the weight room. And then Clint Carlson has come in, and the older guys have been extremely impressed with what Clint has done. He's 6'7", skilled forward, makes baskets, puts it on the floor, passes the ball well. So there's, like I said, in that group of 5 freshmen, I think we've got a lot to work with there.
All right, thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Morning, Ben.
Yeah, good morning, Jim.
Seth Tuttle's had 2 really solid first 2 seasons. Where does he need to kind of maybe make the next step up here, especially with obviously a couple of the inside guys having graduated?
Yeah, him going to that next step, Jim, is going to be key for us this coming season. He and Dion, both of those guys, being able to elevate their leadership, elevate their play on the floor, and that's already started for him. Seth is putting in a lot of time right now, and he's a guy that needs a lot of work on his perimeter skills. I think in some ways he's going to have to help us where Jake Cook was able to play out on the floor and make a jump shot, put it on the floor a little bit. We ran a lot of our offense through Jake, and I think Seth is going to have to take up some of that slack. And he's working his tail off in his workouts, but what he's doing different right now, Jim, than what he had done in the past is he's putting in a bunch of time on his own. He's in every morning early, usually around 7 o'clock, and he's getting up a bunch of shots and getting some work in, and then he's coming back another time or two during the course of the day, and that's different for him. And it's something that he needs to continue to do if he's going to take that next step as a player, and if he's going to help move our program forward. And like I said, for Seth and Dion, this is an extremely important summer. They're both off to a great start. We've had 2 very good weeks, but those 2 guys are going to be key for us.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Coach, that was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Let's get to Coach Greg Marshall of Wichita State. Good morning, Greg.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate your patience.
Okay.
Let's get to the questions from the media for Coach Greg Marshall of Wichita State. Questions from the media.
Thank you. If you'd like to ask a question at this time, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 to ask Coach a question. Again, that's star 1 for a question. And we do have a question from the line of Dave Reynolds with the Pretoria Journal-Star.
Morning, Greg.
Hey, Dave.
I guess I'll ask the obvious question. How has your life changed in the last few months?
Well, it's been a little bit more hectic, been a few more requests for my time, a little more recognizable perhaps. But all in all, I'm still dad at home and coming in here coaching these kids in camp. Enjoyed a little vacation in R&R. Not really that big a change, but there's been some subtle differences.
And when you look at the recruiting trail, has there been a huge difference there, just in terms of recognition of the program, or is it too early to tell that yet?
I can't speak of specific recruits, but we do have a commitment from 2014 already, and he was recruited by some other schools that generally we wouldn't be able to beat in recruiting. So that was a little different, bringing in an official visit for a junior in high school, basically, and he pursued us. So that was, I think, a direct correlation from the Final Four run, and I hope that it will open up some other doors for us. And when we given that opportunity to have the door cracked, that we can secure some pretty good players, and we've got pretty good players. So we don't want to change dramatically from what we're doing, but if we can get a guy that maybe just a tiny bit better walking in the door, we will welcome that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Paul Sellentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
Hey, Greg, you've got Anthony going off to the Nike Skills Camp here later. What do you want him to get out of that?
Well, I was just talking to him this morning about, is he ready? I want him to show his skills and perform at a high level. Shooting the basketball, handling the basketball, playing defense, rebounding, running the court, all the intangibles, so that he can improve his draft stock and his visibility going into this year for his future. I mean, this is about him right now. This is about him being a more well-known and highly sought-after player a year from now.
Thank you. Again, that's star one for a question, and our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Hey, Greg. Evan Wessel just played 8 games last year for you before he got hurt. Can you just kind of update us on his progress and what are your expectations for him this season?
Well, he was a starter. Inch for inch, pound for pound, maybe our toughest kid. He was shooting 46% from 3 when he went down. And we could have brought him back, but he had not used a redshirt year. He's a local kid who's a legacy here, third-generation Shocker. He loves it. He wanted to be here. We want him in our program. He's a great student and a wonderful young person. So he's going to be a sophomore again. He had a great workout this morning. Really shot the ball well. I mean, he's just very, very strong and tough and knows how to play. So we're excited about him joining our sophomore class along with Fred Van Vliet and Ron Baker.
You guys have obviously been a good program the last couple of years, but coming off the Final Four run, maybe it'd be a little more X on your back. Have you kind of addressed that with the players, that they're going to have to even raise their level of play even more?
Not really. There'll be plenty of time for that. We're just right now working on getting better and improving our skills and getting stronger in the weight room and repaying the price of success.
Can you talk a little bit about Darius Carter? He was a JC kid you're bringing in. What are your expectations for him? Is he just kind of like for Carl Hall right there?
He looks like a guy that can play the 5 and the 4. Much more skilled than Carl. Not as strong, but longer. Maybe more athletic. Looks to be a pretty talented player. He's fit in well. He's a nice young man. He's working hard. He's enjoying summer school and being in that weight room. And he also had a good workout this morning.
Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
Thank you again. That's star one for your question.
Coach, that was your final question. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a good summer.
You too. See you, Greg. Let's get next to Coach Barry Hinson of Southern Illinois. He's on the line with us. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
I'm doing great. We're in the middle of camp, so I got a bunch of rugrats out here, and we're having the time of our life.
That's great. Let's go right to the questions for the media for Coach Hinson.
Thank you. To ask Coach a question, you may do so by pressing star one at this time. Again, that's star one for a question. Our first question is from the line of Todd Hefner with the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Barry, I guess I'll go first. Can you tell us anything about your schedule? Have you finished those dates with those games, or are you still looking for a couple games too?
No, we still haven't finished our scheduling yet. Of course, at the mid-major level, it's the hardest thing to do, but we hope to be finished with our schedule. Oh, we anticipate that we may have to go into August on one of them, but right now we're happy with what we have up to this date. I mean, it's already been, some schools have already released. We're going to play Missouri next year, and certainly that'll be a big challenge for us. And I know we've added Murray State also to our schedule, which has been released, and both of those teams right there are dramatically improved over what we've done in the past. But we feel like we need to step up a little bit with our scheduling, and we've done so, specifically adding with those two teams.
Are you able to push the Miami game, Miami of Ohio, to next season, or are you obligated to do it this year?
Well, we're working on a date right now, but it's supposed to be on our schedule, and but we're struggling with dates right now. But I anticipate that we will play it next year.
And you have some new players, Barry. But do you feel like do you still feel like you're ahead of where you were last year because you have 5 guys that have played a lot, or is it starting over in some ways?
Well, when I say ahead, I think guys have a better feel for what we'd like to do. But we're extremely young. I mean, we're sitting here. By the end of it, before it's all said and done, we're probably only going to have 3 or 4 players that come back that have any experience whatsoever, and everybody else out on the floor is going to be brand new. So if you look at what we've got coming back right now, we've got Devontae, Dez, and Anthony that really have extended playing time, and really nobody else has got extended playing time. Jalen has a little bit, probably as much as some of those guys, but those 4 right there are it, and obviously, they need to have a good summer as well.
Quick question for you.
Can you talk about Bola's development? What have you seen from him?
Well, Bola's is obviously a key for us on the interior, and we certainly needed him last year, but we didn't have a chance for him.
Names for me?
Bola has done a great job this summer. He needs to develop. Offensive skill-wise, he needs to develop a lot, but defensively, he's so strong, and he's probably our best rebounder that we've got on our basketball team.
I was told he was pretty good defensively. Has that come through too, Barry, in these workouts?
I think he tries hard. I mean, his defensive technique's probably the least to be desired, but he tries hard, and I think that's the biggest factor going into playing defense. You want to try, and he'll do that. Bola is just so green. He hadn't played basketball for a long time, and this is a kid that came over from Nigeria, and I think that the more he gets to play, the better he'll be. It's kind of like Colin Powell once said, experience is the greatest teacher. It gives the test before the lesson, and I think that's really big right now with Bola.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, that's star 1 for a question. Our next question is from the line of Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Barry, with Creighton leaving the league, is there a responsibility on the other teams to kind of so-called pull the rope a little bit more and make sure the league stays in that, obviously in that top 10 league ranking in the country?
First of all, we had a team that went to the Final Four and played for a national championship, and it wasn't Creighton. It was Wichita State. So, I think our league's fine. You look at the tradition of what's happened here at Southern Illinois, and we haven't been good over the past few years. But I know that I've got an old friend that said, "Well, you've done it once, you can do it again." And I truly believe that. You look what Drake has done over the years with their crew. You look at what Missouri State's done. You look what Illinois State done. You look what Bradley's done in their tradition, all the way back to the NIT. You look at what Northern. Just pick a team through the league. But we've never been a one-team league. We're never going to be a one-team league. It doesn't matter who's in our league. This is the second oldest conference in college basketball, second only to the Big Ten. This league has been strong for years, and it's going to continue to be strong. And certainly we're going to miss the Blue Jays. It'd be great if we could have them back. But at the same time, we're adding a new team in Loyola with a great market. Chicago's a much better market than Omaha. I love Omaha. I think it's great, but it just doesn't have the people that Chicago have. And Porter does a great job with his program. And obviously it's going to get better by jumping into the Valley. So actually, I'm not excited that Creighton's leaving, but I'm excited about our league. So, hey, move on. Here we go. I don't have a problem saying that at all. I think we've got a great league. And if you're not a part of it, not in it right now, you're missing out.
Speaking of your players, Anthony Bean Jr. had a pretty solid freshman season. What is the next step he needs to take?
Well, I think the biggest thing, he's got to get better offensively with his repertoire. He's got to have a little bit more added to his offense, and then he's got to figure out that we need him to stop guys defensively. He's got to be better defensively. We were just awful last year defensively, and we were awful, shooting the ball. We were 10th in a lot of categories last year. I think we were. There's 11 statistical categories. I think we were 10th in 7 of the 11. So we weren't really stellar when it came to statistics last year. And hopefully Anthony can help us improve that as a team.
Desmar had a kind of a rocky first season. What have you kind of seen from him so far?
Well, Desmar's kind of a rocky kind of guy, so I think, it's all based on if you're a rocky kind of guy, you're going to have a rocky kind of season. So if Desmar ever figures out that he's a pretty good player and that he'll be responsible off the court, he'll be a lot more responsible on the court. So I think as soon as he, the process of maturation, as much as we want to microwave it, he's had a good summer so far, but at the same time, he can go off road on us in a heartbeat. So we just got to keep an eye on him, and he's certainly our best talent. But I think when you talk about best players, your best players are your guys that do everything you ask them to do on and off the court, and he's certainly not the best player in that category right now.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Lindo Bratton with the Springfield News Leader.
Hello, Barry.
Hey, Lindo.
The Final Four run Wichita State made, have you noticed that raising the league's profile overall just when you've been out on the road recruiting?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I mean, shoot, I ought to be, as much as I've talked about Wichita State, they ought to put me on the alumni list. And I'm really proud of what Greg and those guys did. We take great pride in it as a conference. I think what you do is you just say, hey, we've got a team that played for a national championship, a team that played in the Final Four. That's from our league. And, you've heard me say years for Lindell. You've heard me say it every year. There's not a better place to play than when you want to go into Coke Arena. You sit there, you talk about venues in which we play in and night out in the Valley. I've talked about it all the time. It's outstanding. And now that we're adding Loyola, now that we've got the Chicago market into it, I just think it'll be really special for us as we go on down the line.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you again. That's *1 for a question.
Coach, that was your final one. We'll let you get back to camp. Thanks for joining us. I know it was difficult schedule-wise for you today. Appreciate it.
No, it wasn't difficult. But just FYI, I've now discovered that it's dropped a grade. Now I'm only as tall as the fourth grader. So it used to be the fifth graders. Now there's a fourth grader out there that's taller than me. So my self-esteem has been lowered once again today.
Hey, Coach, we do have one question that just popped up in the queue from Dave Reynolds, if you can take it.
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay, Dave, your line is open.
Hey, Barry, thanks for hanging on a second here. I just wondered if you could, I know you haven't had many workouts yet, but from what you've seen of your new guys, a couple or three that you think might have a good chance of playing right away?
I think Sean O'Brien will play for us, if not start. And that's a kid that's coming in from Mundelein, Illinois, that's a freshman. Really, really encouraged by what he's done. And Casey Goodwin, a little point guard out of Memphis. He weighs 114 pounds, but he's pretty good at the point guard. So I'm being facetious on the 114. He actually weighs 127, I think. But, he's a real thin kid. But if we can get a little meat on his bones, I think he'll help us. And then, you know what? I've been impressed with Bola, our kid that we had last year. He'll be a freshman by eligibility. But he just gets every rebounder. So, we've got some other guys that have come in and had some contributions, but I would say those three would probably stick out more so than anybody.
Thanks, Barry.
Okay, Dave. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
And this does wrap up this call. We'll start back up after Media Day. Well, I'm not sure when we're going to have them, but we'll have some calls this fall and then back into the conference season starting in January. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That does conclude the conference call for